Everybody feels good this morning, and the songs again have been beautiful additions and support for the message that I have to share with you today. We're really going into the heart today. I want you to really focus on your heart. There's things that might test your boundaries a little bit. So we're going to just stay centered in our hearts and know that that heart is expanding in perfect peace and safety. So many years ago, way back 20, 30 years ago, when I first was introduced to New Thought, I came across a series of articles in Science of Mind magazine. How I wish I had saved them. But they impressed me so much. And the idea was that whatever arises in our lives can be viewed as an act of the love of the divine in our lives. It so resonated with me. It was the song of my heart. I mean, it was like a song. I didn't have those words at the time, but it just has kept singing to me. And everything that I see that expresses and supports that idea, you're going to hear, is always something that I feel supports my direction in my spiritual life. So, excuse me, recently I felt at one of those points when you're seeking spiritual direction, and the memory of those articles came back in my consciousness. I love how spirit works. All these puzzle pieces come together, you know? So that came in my consciousness. And then along with that came the Bible verse that I didn't understand at the time that says, "Give away all that you have and follow me." I've always taken that kind of literally, you know, and I know we have the story in the Bible for that. But I got a new dimension of that as I moved forward in this direction. I noticed that sometimes what I don't give away are my judgments. I hold them closely around me, the hurts, the pain, hold it around me. And in my mind's eye, I saw that as like a cloud, a thick blanket maybe, of energy around my heart. But I realized as I sat with that image is that I was thinking it was a protection, or maybe not thinking, but on some level, believing that it was a protection, but that protection is keeping love from coming in. So, of course, there's a book. I think if I didn't have one, you'd think I wasn't here, right? So the book is Whatever Arises, Love That by Matt Kahn. And again, along with that came, and I don't know if this was from the book or not, but the statement, love is the only protection. That one I'm still working on, but that was a new view. So the old view came, the new view came in this simple statement, and then the book. So what if I gave away all of my judgments and my pain and the past, and what if I just sought to live with an open heart? We were all opening ourselves up this morning, weren't we? So as I begin to read Matt Kahn's book, I just was one of those situations where I wanted to highlight every line. Much of the message that I bring to you this morning is inspired by that book and the idea that if we can view each thing that arises in our lives with equanimity, we enhance the healing experience that it is bringing to us. The direction is, wherever you find yourself in life, a deeper invitation is always being offered to satisfy the curiosity and interest in exploring the endless grace of life's eternal truth. I love that line, the endless grace of life's eternal truth. I might have shared the story with you before, but this is another thing that ties in. Do you remember hearing the story of the farmer that he gave away his one and only horse? He did it out of compassion. He let the horse run wild because he knew that that horse had worked hard for him and it was getting old. And so he freed it. And all his neighbors said, "How stupid." That's your only horse, and now it's gone, and how are you going to make a living? And how are you going to prosper? And how are you going to work the land? And the farmer replied, "Who knows? We shall see." 2 days later, the old horse came back. He was refreshed and revived, and with him were 12 younger horses. So the story continues on with one circumstance after another being released, and every time the neighbors all say, "That's bad," or "That's good," and the farmer always replies, "Who knows? We shall see." So that's the example of that equanimity that I'm talking about in receiving each experience in our lives. And that opens our hearts. That opens the way for us to receive the gifts that those experiences bring to us. So now just imagine that every thought that arises, every pain in your body, every financial setback, every lost relationship, imagine that you could just accept that with equanimity. It just strikes me that we can open it's that old change your consciousness, change your life. When we look at everything with a possibility of the blessings, of the 12 horses riding back in when what we think we've lost, it can bring so much more to our lives than we can receive if we shut down and say, "Oh no, poor me, I've lost this." So the idea here is that when we make the judgment that something external needs to change, we're setting up a you versus me kind of energy. We're putting our energy into separation instead of into oneness. When I think of Christ's life, what did he do? He accepted each condition that presented before him, whether it was the blind man, the death of his friend, someone who everyone called a sinner. He accepted each of those with equanimity, and the situation was transformed. So in this book, Whatever Arises, Love That, Matt Kahn puts forth the idea that the times that we are in right now are the most exciting because more people than ever are awakening to the truth of their eternal nature. The love that Christ showed in his examples, the story of the farmer, those are all places that demonstrate the perspective of the divine nature, the perspective of abundance and unconditional love. Matt Kahn's invitation is to connect with what he calls our true innocent nature by loving our own heart. And he says that our open heart is our only refuge, and it reflects the divine perspective that Christ taught us. Of course, the idea of seeing every trial and every loss as a blessing, it takes some time. I'm still working on it 20, 30 years later, but that's okay. And what he says about that is if you don't feel love in a situation, don't pretend. Don't try. That sets up another energy that's not conducive to having an open heart. So he says it just means you haven't practiced enough yet. When you begin to practice this, you begin to create a new path in your subconscious mind. And it gets to know, oh, we're doing something different here. And then a new habit is created. But repetition is necessary. I'm sure you have all come far enough along the path that you know the truth of that statement. But I've heard it described like training a puppy. When you're trying to keep a puppy going on the sidewalk and you don't get mad, you just correct it and correct it and correct it until it gets the message. Same with our subconscious mind. Matt Cott says to remember that anything that distracts us or upsets us is just showing us the next thing to love in our heart. And loving your heart is the most important thing in the world. There's a lot of work on self-compassion. If you want to delve into that more deeply, it's really beautiful work. So his suggestion is that when we love our own hearts, because we are all one, we also facilitate, we do our part to help the consciousness of the world. I love that. So, the first step, loving our own hearts. Oftentimes we manifest experiences like heartbreak, disappointments, betrayals, dramas, dilemmas, where to go to lunch. I hope that you're not still stuck on that one. We find ourselves caught up in that drama, and it binds our energy, and it takes our energy away from loving ourselves. But as you practice embracing your heart more sincerely than ever before, you may discover that your heart has been last in line to receive your attention. How many of you are like me? It's like, well, I'm going to sit down and do my compassion practice after I clean the litter box and get the dishes done and take that so-and-so over to my daughter. And, we put ourselves last in line when, in fact, we'd have so much more to give, and we'd have such a better energy to give it with if we take that time. I have a practice. It's about an hour long of prayer and meditation in the morning and reading. And if something interrupts that, if I can't make that my priority, if I just say, you know my intention, just walk with me today. It doesn't take much. You don't have to take an hour like I do. I probably need more work than everybody else here. But just making that your intention to connect with the divine and walk in that energy of love. So when love is invited to work through you and respond to each experience on your behalf, you don't even need to know why things occur. Did you ever do that? Did you ever, why did this happen? Why? Or have a friend in that place where they're just, why? It's wasted energy. We don't need to know that. All that's required is a willingness to open our heart to the love that's there, and that place of why, that place of dilemma is an invitation. It's not to be taken on with force or effort or exhaustion. It's simply an adventure into a new perspective, a perspective of love rather than of fear or judgment. So by learning how to love whatever arises, the tendency to fight with the inevitable outcome transforms into a willingness to embrace the ever-changing circumstances in our lives. We know one thing that is assured is change. I want to read you Matt Kahn's words about this. He says, throughout this process, and that process is, dealing with each of these circumstances with love, you are relieved of the overwhelming heaviness felt in the world by returning to the ecstasy of your true innocent nature. In the new spiritual paradigm, you cannot wait for your heart to open in order to love. No matter how closed off you feel or how shut down you seem to be, it's your willingness to love that reminds you how safe you have always been. And this transformation into heart-centered consciousness occurs at the rate in which your true innocent nature becomes the object of your affection. Maybe that should have been the thing for today. We have a card today, as we always do. Your true innocent nature becomes the object of your affection. But we went with, and this is good, if in every breath I take, love is always there. So by loving what arises, you unearth the deepest understanding of the universe in the most heart-centered way. As your heart opens, you're able to see how every circumstance and every detail of your life has been created only to help you to grow on a spiritual level throughout this heart-centered revolution. And you come to realize that underneath it all, love is who you are and all you ever wanted. I'm going to have Deb at this time pass out a copy of the healing mantra that I'm going to talk about next. So this healing mantra is meant to further assist you to return to your true innocent nature. And I'm going to have us read it together, not because I don't think that you can read it on your own, but because I really believe in the energy of the community. And as we read it together, we're putting all of our positive, beautiful energy together and affirming this not only for ourselves, but for each other. So, let's begin. When I am sad, I deserve more love, not less. When I'm angry, I deserve more love, not less. When I'm frustrated, I deserve more love, not less. Whenever I'm hurt, heartbroken, ashamed, or feeling guilty, I deserve more love, not less. Even when I'm embarrassed by my actions, I deserve more love, not less. Equally so, when I'm proud of myself, I deserve more love, not less. No matter how I feel, I deserve more love, not less. Despite what I think, I deserve more love, not less. No matter the past that I've survived, I deserve more love, not less. No matter what remains up ahead, I deserve more love, not less. On my worst day, I deserve more love, not less. Even when life seems cruel and confusing, I deserve more love, not less. When no one is here to give me what I need, I deserve more love, not less. In remembering the greatest way I can serve the world, I deserve more love, not less. No matter what I'm able to accept, whomever I cannot forgive, or whatever I am able to love for whatever reason, I deserve more love, not less. And then I added the last two statements to his. Love does not ask me to accept what cannot be accepted. It simply says, just embrace your own heart, and I will accept on your behalf. In every breath you take, love is always there. So I encourage you to take that with you, and some of it that I found revolutionary when I first read it. Like, really? So maybe you'll enjoy that experience and work with that. So all that I've offered you this morning is meant to reinforce the message that each of our experiences in life is how divinity communicates with us. That's the equanimity, isn't it? It's how divinity communicates with us. Each experience is an informative gift. Sometimes Spirit just knocks me out. Each moment is an absolute miracle. And when we embrace it with an attitude of love and acceptance, we transform ourselves and the energy around us. Rumi offered us this message so succinctly and beautifully in this poem, The Guest House. It says, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Whatever arises, love that." Those 4 words can become a spiritual mantra. Whisper "I love you" to your heart whenever you feel upset or fearful. Whisper "I love you" every time life confronts you with an opportunity, good or bad. The goal is to release the judgment of good or bad. But most of us are still there. So when we open to this, "I love you," when we embrace these situations, we remind ourselves and we remind the world that the only truth is love. And love is here, right now. Thank you. Namaste and Jai Bhagwan. We're going to go right into meditation. So get yourself comfortable, and it's good to place your feet flat on the floor and just begin by taking a deep breath. Let that breath fill you up, and then just release it. As you release it, release all the tensions and thoughts, all the things, good or bad, all the things, all the delights, all the pains. Just release it into the bright, holy light in front of you. Take another breath. Let that light and love fill you, and then release everything that is not of the light. Moving now to focus on your heart. And if you choose to place your hand on your heart as a sign of the compassion that you wish to enter your heart right now, feel free to do that. See that heart radiating now in a rainbow of color, radiating out from the center of your being, through your entire body, and out through this room. And then stretching beyond this room, throughout this city, and throughout the world and the universe. In this way, we express our willingness to open to the infinite love that is present for us now and always. If there is some energy in your life right now that distracts you from love, I ask you to hold it in your heart very, very gently. And breathe that light into it. It is the Christ light. That is the truth of our being. Breathing in. We fill whatever situation that distracts our energy with peace, with love, with joy, knowing that simply through our willingness, through that act of saying, I am willing, you open the door. I invite you to just sit for a few moments in silence, keeping your focus on your heart, breathing into your heart with the allowing energy. And as we gently, gently move back into this place and time, we say thank you, thank you, thank you, O perfect loving Spirit. And so it is. Amen.